Joe, two selections, obviously Harry Potter over Dylan Peach, and also Nick champion de Crepney on the replacements bench, maybe ahead of Cortezano. Just wondering your thoughts on those selections.
Yeah, I'll start with Carlo. He had a kind of medial collateral ligament twinge in the game against Japan. So he trained fully today, but wasn't training fully on Tuesday. So it was that, and it was also that Nick champion de Crepney played very well against Japan. So that covers that off, and Dylan Peach is still getting back to full speed. It's been a bit of a recovery for him since injuring himself against South Africa in that second game in Cape Town. So yeah, it was probably just something that we'd pre-planned to share the opportunities for the two sets of wingers to get an opportunity over the first two games of this Northern Tour.
Joe, you obviously aren't able to pick Len Ikitau, Tom Hooper, James O'Connor because of Regulation 9. Is this something that you believe is fair, or you'd like to see change to basically have your full disposal of your best players?
We always try to favour home-based players anyway. Len is at Exeter on a sabbatical, really. He is contracted beyond that to Rugby Australia, so that's nice for us to know. Len's been very, very good for us, and Hunter Paisami was good last week. So I think one of the opportunities that it affords is for us to build out a little bit more strength and depth in our squad, which you know you're going to need. I think it was one of the things that I had a responsibility to try to do with the Wallabies over the initially 18 months that I was going to be involved.
Just a final one from me. So obviously England are going to provide a huge aerial threat. This is a massive challenge in the world game. Are you confident that you have the players able to deal with just the aerial bombardment that's going to happen in Twickenham?
Yeah, look, I think they're very good on the ground as well. I think they're very physical and skilled. I think George Ford has one of the best passing games in world rugby. A lot of people focus on his kicking game, but his passing game, and he's got good acceleration. So he is a genuine triple threat. Coming through the middle, they may kick a little bit differently because they've got a strength across the back line. And even Emmanuel Faiwabaso is very good in the air, just because he generates that force across the ground that he can generate into the air as well. So Roebuck's good in the air. Obviously Freddie Stewart is very good in the air. And Tommy Freeman we've had a good close look at during the Lions tour. So it does appear to us that there is a bit of a menacing aerial threat. And I suppose the best we can do is to rehearse it during this week. We've had a good week's training in that domain, and players will be working very hard to get into the contest with those guys.
Joe, can I just go back to Len? You said he was on sabbatical. Did that mean that he was still ineligible for selection, even though he's still contracted to Rugby Australia, or is it a little bit more nuanced? Yeah,
so there's a hiatus in his contract. So right now he's contracted to Exeter, and I think it will be a really good experience for Len, learning and understanding a little bit about the game. It was good catching up on Wednesday with a couple of players who are based up here, Australian players, who believe that they've broadened their understanding of the game played slightly differently, different voices and approaches, and that can have a really positive effect. So for us, he's not currently contracted with Rugby Australia, but he is contracted beyond his Exeter contract at the end of the year to come back to the Brumbies and Rugby Australia.
Is it not somewhat surreal to you, though, that the Premiership's England players are playing this weekend, and yet some of their clubmates, their teammates, cannot play for you in the same fixture?
I guess it's not really a distraction for us, though. It's an opportunity. So I just knew that was the case already, so it hasn't been a distraction or frustration. It's just, you often get set, or you get dealt a set of cards, and and while you may shuffle the deck a little bit or try to steal a card from somewhere else, if those cards aren't available, you shuffle what you've got and try to put out your best hand. And we feel that we've got a hand that can challenge England, but we know how good they are, and that might not be enough, but we're certainly going to give it a try.
Do you think that Australia should have a full hand, though, and that they should fight a bit harder? The officials should have, in their contract negotiations, forewarned of this issue?
Yeah, I guess if you're going to choose to play in a foreign competition, they create the boundaries of that competition. So you have to play by their rules, and World Rugby have very clear Reg 9 windows where international players who are selected for international teams have to be made available. So, you know, we knew that beforehand. It was no different last year. We were in the same position last year and didn't have everyone available, but we had a few less that were within our squad. So, you know, guys like Tom Hooper and Len Ikitau and James O'Connor, who have all played recently for us, they, you know, they're up here now, whereas last year it wasn't the case.
I guess Rugby Australia could have paid for that release, but was that never an option?
No, I don't think you can. I think...
So the Premiership clubs, I mean, they could, like England do?
No, because the Premiership clubs, while they get a payout from the Rugby Football Union, there is a boundary for foreign players to be allowed to play. So it wasn't a case of paying money to get someone released. It was a precedent. The Premiership sit separate to the RFU, and the Premiership make their own parameters around their competition, and one of those parameters is that they don't release players or there's a consequence. I don't remember all the detail, but I remember, I think it was Dan Bigger got released from Northampton to play for Wales.
George as well.
Yeah. And George as well. So I think there was a consequence, a financial consequence, but I think at the time, and it's only vague in my memory, but there was a threat that in future it could be a consequence of a deduction of competition points. Now, no club is going to want to take that risk.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm not fully conversant with the rules around that, but I'd be relatively pragmatic about the hand that we've got and the excitement we've got about trying to do our best against one of the big teams in world rugby.
Steve Borthwick the other day was having a bit of fun saying you've had 4.5 months together and he's had 4 sessions. Do you have any sympathy at all for him in that?
We've had 2 sessions actually, so at least he's had 4. We've just come from Japan, we made 13 changes. I think cohesion-wise, and I think also in terms of probably fatigue, we've done a lot of travel. I think we have 15 test matches across 22 weeks in 9 countries in 10 different time zones. So, I'd be happy to swap that for 4 trainings, to be honest.
For those of us who haven't watched you absolutely razor sharply since the Lions, what would you say is different about the Aussie that here this weekend as opposed to the team that lots of people in the UK will have seen play the Lions?
Yeah, it's probably a good question. I don't think it's anything substantial. I think, to be honest, I thought we were probably more conservative than we usually are last week. It was very slippery conditions, and I thought we didn't probably play as much as we have in TRC. I think in TRC we made the most passes of any team. We tried to play as best we could, and it's what the players enjoy doing. And I think if you can be enjoying your work, you're prepared to work hard at it, and that's part of probably the Australian rugby DNA anyway. They like to use the ball well. Now, we know that defences can be very dense and fast. So, there's times where you can't play, and you've got to be able to be a bit strategic around how you approach that. So, we'll be looking to mix that up. I think it's not very often in TRC that the Wallabies make more line breaks than the All Blacks, for example. And while we didn't quite get the results we were looking for against the All Blacks across the whole competition, I felt that we used the ball pretty well, and it was the same intention. I think the first half of the second Lions test, we scored some outstanding tries, and even across all the tests, I think we probably scored good tries in all those games using the ball, and we'll be looking to do something similar, but I know that Steve will have his team well primed to shut down as much as they can of what we bring to the table.
Joe, if on the bench you've got Hamish Stewart covering 5'8", and we attempted, I know Ben Donaldson featured in the Australia A, just to have a little bit more playmaker, pure, I know Hamish plays at 10, but pure playmaker cover.
Yeah, and Ben's a good player. And Ben played in this fixture last year, came off the bench and finished the game really well for us. He was obviously part of the last elements of play that led to Max Jorgensen scoring in the left-hand corner. So there was a temptation. We know that in recent times we've had lots of time with James O'Connor, so we know for the next 3 weeks James will be available as well, and Carter will be as well. Carter trained really well today. And trained fully within the team session. So he's now had 2 weeks to probably recalibrate himself around rugby, and also just to reintegrate with the Wallabies, playing slightly different than they did last time he was with the team.
You've got a young man, Tane Edmed, who spoke very well about the faith that you've shown in him. He's got his 3rd successful start. Do you believe that some of the criticism from back home in Australia has been a bit unfair onto you?
I haven't seen it, Johnny. To be honest, it's not something that again I can allow to be a distraction. All we can do is keep investing in the people we've got, and I think if any of the people in the room had the opportunity to have a chat with Tane, they'd see what a quality young man he is. And how hard he's working at his craft. And I've had the luxury of working with some really good 10s in my time, and 10s who've played 100 test matches and more, whether it be for the All Blacks or Ireland. And you don't suddenly get that good. You don't turn up in the 4th test match, start and start running the game like you do when you've had 50 tests. You learn from experiences, and that allows you to get better, and getting better is never linear either. There are going to be tough moments for Tane, and we know that, and there's going to be some really good moments, and we've seen some good moments, a really good 50-22 or a nice kick-off that Dylan Peach picks up on the edge, or a great high ball, he's brave, those sorts of things. And he also, he's working really hard at trying to bring the team with him. Inevitably, you have a captain, you have other leaders in the team, but the team, he's got to make calls on the fly. And so people have to react well to him. And I find that the team are definitely, their confidence in Tane is growing.
James, I think it's 10 of the starting 15 for Saturday were also started last year in the win. Is that just coincidence, or did you look at that game and what went well there, and did that sort of help form your thinking?
Coincidence. Yeah, sorry, it's a one-word answer. There's definitely coincidence. Availability currently, and but I hope there'll be other coincidences on Saturday, particularly in terms of outcome.
Yeah, Joe, sorry. This used to be a relatively rare fixture, England-Australia at Twickenham. Now it's an annual event. I mean, where does it still rate for you as a coach and for this team as an occasion, playing a game at Twickenham?
Yeah, Twickenham is unbelievably kind of inspirational ground. The surface is outstanding. There are some great stadiums in the world that don't actually necessarily have a world-class surface. They have a world-class surface. You have a vocal support base, and so there's always atmosphere. And I've been really privileged to have some great days at Twickenham. Heineken Cup wins, final wins, Grand Slam wins, in the game last year, for example. Those days, well, you can't buy those days. I'm only on the periphery, but it's a nice little peripheral vision that you have of players just stepping beyond what they thought was possible in some of those events. So I love the stadium. I love the way the support's there. Even on the bus on the way in, the one thing I would say is that they're a real rugby crowd. Sometimes I won't mention any stadia, but sometimes you turn up and there's booing and there's sign language and things, and Twickenham's just not like that. It's a festival almost until you actually get on the field, and then you're made to feel very uncomfortable. But you're made to feel like you're welcome, and I don't expect any different on Saturday.